Okay, so before we go into ladder diagram programming of our PLC, let us discuss first the different symbols of industrial input and output devices. Okay, so what we have here is or are symbols of some input devices which can be found in the different industries, no? For example, is the push button switches, okay? So what we have here is the symbol of a normally open contact, okay? And this one here is the symbol for a normally closed push button switch, okay? Then we have the limit switches. So this one here is the symbol for the normally open limit switch, and this one is the symbol for a normally closed limit switch. Now, this particular symbol here is also a limit switch. This is actually a normally open limit switch held closed, meaning to say that from an open or a normally open limit switch, once an object hits a normally open limit switch, it will be closed, no? Which is represented by this particular symbol. In the same way, if you have a normally closed limit switch, once it will be hit by an object, then this particular normally closed switch will open. Okay, that is what is meant by normally open switch held closed and normally closed switch held open. Then we go to temperature switch symbol. So this one here is the symbol for a normally open temperature switch, and this one here is the symbol of a normally closed temperature switch. Then, so what does the temperature switch symbols here mean? So that means that once a certain temperature is attained, then this normally open temperature switch will close. And in the same way, if it is normally closed temperature switch, once a particular temperature is reached, then this particular normally closed temperature switch will open. Okay, so we have here the pressure and vacuum switches. We have the normally open pressure switch and the normally closed pressure switch. In the same way as in temperature switch, if a particular pressure is attained wherein your switch is normally open, then this particular normally open switch will close. No, in the same way that if you have a normally closed pressure switch, once a temperature or a pressure, I mean, is attained, then this normally closed switch will be open. Then we have liquid level switch, no? So we have the normally open liquid level switch and the normally closed liquid level switch. So the same way as in your pressure switch, if a particular level or water level, for example, is reached, then this normally open liquid level switch were closed. And in the same manner, if a certain temperature, a certain level of water is attained in this particular symbol here, then the normally closed liquid level switch will open. Okay, that is how these switches functions. And we know that these input devices, once we interpret this in PLC, these normally open switches are represented by normally open contact, and the normally closed switches are represented by a normally closed contact. Then we have here the output, some of the output devices, okay, which can also be found in the different industries. So we know that the output device in PLC can be represented by a coil. The input devices are represented by normally open or normally closed contacts. So here, in the output devices, we have the timer. This one here, when you see this in the industry, that means that it is a timer. And this one here is contactor. Then you have the solenoid, then the relay coil. Okay, so these are common output devices which can be found in industries. We also have the annunciator, the bell, okay, the buzzer, for example, if the time is attained, then the bell or the buzzer will turn on. Or we have the horn or the siren, for example, if you design an alarm system. Then we also have here the meter, no, voltmeter, and the ammeter. Okay, then you have the pilot lights. Then of course the different motor symbols. We have the AC motor symbols, this one here. And then we have here the DC motors. These are the symbols. So if you see this one, these symbols here and this one here, that means that it is an AC or a DC motor. But basically, some of the symbols of motors, for example, in problems like problems to be solved using PLC, the motors are basically represented by letter M only.